All right, back to work. We don't have too much things. Well, what I'm going to do. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go back and look at these huge quantities of libraries. I'm going to give you a quick, tiny tour through all the libraries, and some of the best ones as well. Well, no, actually, first, let me find Python libraries. Let me just show you the whole list. No, actually called Python modules, that's what they call them. Sorry, modules. Let me just show you the whole list. It'll blow your mind. And let's go here. Library reference.
Can I get Wi-Fi?
Oh, password's Heptagon. No, now it's on the internet for everybody. Yeah. So, okay. So here we go. So starting here, all of these things you see, each one of these things, these are all modules here in Python. Let me just go, I'm going to skim through these. You have to memorize every one of these. Just kidding.
These are all libraries?
These are all libraries. Each of those have many operations within them. There's file ones, there's data things here, things for databases. Look, they got things for news databases. They have SQLite databases, DB, these are all databases. Multiple different ways to pickle and things. Data compression, you can read and write zips, gzips, bzips, tar files, CSV, which I'm going to show you a bit today. A whole bunch of things for parsing all sorts of different files. Cryptographic stuff, awfully handy. These things are actually very useful for operating system stuff. These things control pictures and cursors. These are actually very important to me. Threading particularly is very important for grown-up programs. We're not going to do anything that involves threading. You're really lucky. I get a lot of questions. Inter-process communication, internet stuff of various types, vast quantities of those. Read mail, JSON, read and write mail, this sort of thing, encoding files, parsing HTML, writing HTML, parsing XML in two different ways. All these things involving there's a web browser, things to read URLs, things to read HTTP. It goes on and on. Look at these things to read all sorts of different file types in audio, internationalization. It goes on. Graphical user interfaces, which you're not even going to do. Things for testing, things for debugging, things for the system, which you probably will never use. Well, you probably might use this one. Blah, on. Oh, there we go, we're done. No, they're not done, I'm sorry. Then we have ones for just on Windows, just on Unix, just on Mac OS. I don't even know what these are. Mac OS, Mac Python. This is on the SGI IRIX. I'm sure you all have these at home. The company's been dead for 20 years, but they still have this. Sun OS, undocumented modules. I don't want to look at them. Basically, is, and this isn't all. It turns out to be, which we'll go through in the chapter on cleaning. Cleanliness is next to godliness, is there's a huge number of very, very high quality packages available that aren't part of the core. This is what you get when you type the word Python at a command line when you've installed nothing. You get all of these things, and it's very, very likely that if you're doing some common operation, it's going to be there. But you can install a whole bunch of very, very high quality libraries to do very special purpose or very general purpose things. And once you've gone to the effort to install what's called a Python package manager, you can do it one line from your command line. So it's incredibly powerful. And they all kind of work the same way because Python is kind of set up, as I said, there's that least surprise. So everybody buys into this whole idea of Pythonic. That's that lovely adjective. Yes?
When you imported Mac, is that, once you import it, is it there? Or do you have to...
Yeah, that's a very good question. So once I do something like import math, well, let's take a look at it. Did I do it in this window? Or the other one? We'll find out. Yeah, it's there. It's like a variable. In fact, when you import math, it is a variable like any other variable. No difference than any other. The only thing that happens to be is it was imported to somewhere else, and these members, these are actually functions all on their own that do exciting mathematical things. I use exciting with me anyway, but probably dry to most people. So you can delete it. It's just like any other variable. You can just delete math, and voila, it's gone. And and remember again, is because it does this garbage collection, it cleans everything up for you. Sometimes when you open modules, like some of the modules I created do a whole bunch of stuff behind the scenes when you open them up. It turns out that you can do all sorts of clever things if you like. And all of that gets cleaned up for you. Very nice. You don't have to deal with, half of my life dealing in C++ is cleaning up after myself, which I don't have to do in Python. It's like, you do everything in your room, at the end you're like, okay, I'm done, and it all goes back into the drawers. Mary Poppins pioneered this. All right, so we have a list. Now let me go. I'm lying about that. She had nothing to do with this. Okay, so let's go quickly through a couple here. Let's just do. This is more of a tour. What I expect you to do is when you need to do something in the future, you're going to go back to that page we had here, this one, and you're going to look there right away, first thing, and see. It says something that does what I want in this very, very long list. It's actually organized pretty logically if you look at it. So I don't expect you to really remember any of this. I expect you, however, to not be frightened of this. None of these things are very difficult. They're all extremely solid. They've been around for 10, 15 years. They're used by hundreds of thousands of programmers. So they work. They not only work, they give you good error messages. They're very coherent. They all work well together. So I don't necessarily expect you to remember this, but I do expect you to remember, oh, well, probably it's something like this. I can look it up. It'll all work. Yeah, so you can think of this more of an inspirational talk than anything. So for example, I just imported this thing called collections here. And this has a whole bunch of different ways to put things together. The interesting one we have is, right, this is in 2.6. Okay, so in the next generation Python, I'm using the earliest one because I know some of you are using this. They have, remember we talked before about dictionaries not being ordered? There's an ordered dictionary in these collections. That turns out to be really handy for a tiny number of purposes. There's also something here called counter. Oh, there, is it in here? So all of these, 2.6 doesn't have these. So, but in general, if you want to collect, we've gone through a lot of different types of collections already. Sets, lists, tuples, dictionaries. Yes?
Is there any difference between the ones that have an underscore and the ones that don't?
The underscore ones are what's called, as I said, magic methods. You can basically ignore those. They're used for, it's likely we won't even get into these in a class, except we will be showing you a few tiny ones that will be of interest to you. But most of the time you can just ignore those. And some of them are useful. For example, if I do, they're interesting, let's do one as example. If we do .package, collections.package, there's nothing in it. Well, I'm surprised at that.
I think you have to assign it to a variable, right?
Big pardon?
You have to assign it to F or something, or a variable.
No, I should just print it out. I'm surprised it doesn't have its own name, but I know what collections.file does. It prints the file that this thing was loaded from. Very handy sometimes, particularly when you're trying to figure out how something is done. I should add that the source code to all of these things, or nearly all of these, lives in your computer already. If you don't understand how something works, you can just open it up and read it and try and figure it out. It's actually pretty good code. It's all commented. And I find myself doing that quite a bit in some of these things that are funky around the edge, like other people's code, not in the libraries, it's kind of funky around the edges. So it's really handy. It's one of those few languages where you can say, how does this work? I don't know. I'm going to actually open it up and take a look. Try doing that with your C++ program. You won't be able to do it. So collections is a bunch of, it's a bunch of things. For example, this thing called a deck. What's a deck? Oh, it's a queue. It's like a queue. You could, literally like a queue waiting for a store where you can pull things off the front and the back efficiently. Names, tuple, another form of collection. Basically, the collection thing is a way, more fancy collections, the chances are you won't need these at any point, but if you did, you know where to look. So next we're going to go to my list. Now, there are two here which we'll be seeing over and over again. They're kind of grab bags for a whole bunch of things that you need to do that are kind of tedious. And one of them is called OS, and that's operating system stuff. And that handles all sorts of things. Like, do I want to know what directory? Remember Python has the concept of the current directory, the current working directory. Well, how do I find that out? I do os.gets current working directory. It prints the directory I'm in. OS is full of stuff. Full of stuff. And most of these things kind of boring. But you'll need them all the time. They do things like linking directories to each other, moving stuff around. Your pardon?
What does walk do?
Oh, well, let's find out. We can, let's take a look. Help os.walk. I actually know what that is because I actually looked it up earlier today. But what it does is it actually, given a directory, it walks through all files in all subdirectories and gives them to you one at a time. You're probably going to say that. For each directory in a directory tree, it gives a so it's actually a generator. It sends tuples containing the directory path, the directory and file names for each subdirectory. So it's really handy when you want to do something like for each file in all of these subdirectories. So yeah, you can see it's just full of stuff. And it turns out actually that there is something called, is it shutils? Well, I can't spell. Oh, sorry, import. Let's try it. Let's see if it works. Util? Yeah. It turns out that there's a newer thing called shutil that on Unix machines is newer and better, and it allows. Anyway, when you get to that, you will look it up. It handles a lot of like particular extra fancy versions of some of these things. For example, there is a move. And you all know move, it's just, when you drag a file from one place to another. But this is what's called an atomic move. Don't you love that? Actually, it turns out that the meaning is less exciting than the term. What it means is an atomic move is guaranteed to either take place or fail. You're like, well, surely, but no, what can happen is, and sometimes you get, if multiple people are using your computer, which could be multiple parts of your program, if you use a regular move, what can happen is, I can start to do my move, you can start to do your move. My move completes, your move moves on top of it. With this, that can't happen, it's atomic. The operation happens as a unit. I hope you're not memorizing any of this stuff. Suffice it to say that OS has huge quantity of things, and particularly, there's a particularly important one you end up using all the time, and it's called os.path. os.path deals with all the terrible, terrible things that if you ever start writing cross-platform code, you'll have to deal with writing files on Windows directories and writing file on Mac directories and writing file on Unix directories, all of which is suddenly different. os.path hides all of that for you. It's really super great if you're doing this stuff. Anytime you find yourself building paths, building names of files, and you're not doing it with os.path, you are in a state of error. Use os.path, and then if you get in the habit of doing this, it not only works on the Mac, the PC, and Windows, it will work on like the SGI, IRIX, and machines you have never heard of before. People will be able to use your code. It's a lifesaver. The first time you start to use it, it's a bit sloppy, but then the first time you run your program on Mac and it works on Windows, the sense of joy will counteract any of that sense of, the minor sense of boredom. So I'm not going to show you any specifics of these. They're technical, they're dull. We'll see examples and then it probably, yes.
Does it affect the memory? Does it take up much memory to import something? Are you if you import a zillion things, are you bogging down your system, or
that's very true.
Close up things, or
when you import, so you're absolutely right. When you import, like this thing, when you imported OS, you imported all of these programs, and where are the G's there? So, each of those functions takes up some memory, not very much. So, you can. One of the things you can do is you can unload them. You can try unloading and deleting them, this sort of thing.
You can also only import specific parts.
Yes, that's very, very true. It's a very good point. For example, I gave one of the things I can do is supposing I only want to use os.walk. Then I can say, let me see. Let me quit Python, just so we can start with that tabula rasa, and then we do Python again. And then I can just say on port os.walk. Okay, that's right. That's true. You can only import a module. That's absolutely right. You can do something. I think you can do this from OS.
Oh yeah,
walk. I can do that now. So what I've done is I have only imported one function from this whole big thing we saw. If I try and now say OS, there is no OS in there. If I look at my globals, I only have one global that's, where is it? Oh, there it is, walk. There's that function walk there, right? So it's very true that you can, if you like, just say only import from this module, import just that one function. But I have to say that nobody ever really does this in principle, in practice, because
I just mentioned it because I've seen it in example code.
it is, and also sometimes you want to do it not just to prevent cluttering your space up. And this
Yeah,
thing-
I learned that you were supposed to specifically import when I learned it before.
Well, it depends, particularly on other people's large packages and things.
Right.
I almost always import just one thing, but often you will start off by saying import os.path, for example, because you use 30 os.path things in there.
Right.
It's never a bad idea. It's never a bad idea to declare everything. It's one of the we'll see at the end of today the list of Pythonic things, and one of the list of rules for Python is explicit is better than implicit. So it's better to type a little bit more, but make it absolutely clear what's going on. And so importing things explicitly one at a time is not a bad idea. Definitely not a bad idea. But sometimes we're slack. And Python lets us be very slack. We did OS, and let me look at my list here. Oh, and we have sys. Now, sys again is one of those things. The name sys should be a giveaway. Tons of crap involving computer systems, most of which you don't care about. Like, let's take a look at what sys is here. Vast quantities of things. My guess is you will probably use one of these, and maybe four of these. And really, there's only one thing you're going to use all the time. It's sys.argv, which will probably be empty at this point. Now, what sys.argv is that's when you write a program that you're executing from the command line, this argv contains the arguments to that program. As such, when you're doing little utilities, like I know John is probably going to do, you use that all the time. Probably half of the programs I've ever written are tiny little thing. I mean, Python programs are tiny little things that just take something off the command line. You use sys.argv everywhere. It's quite likely that you will never use anything else from sys, just argv. It's fairly likely for this class that we won't even use that. But if you need to do things like, for example, let me show you a fun one, sys.exit, 0, ends Python. You're like, oh, why would I want to do that? Well, sometimes I want to quit from the middle of the program. How do I do that? Sys.exit. So, there's some possibility that you would, some possibility of using it. But again, it's kind of giving you a tour of things so that they're important. But these aren't very much fun. So let's get to something entertaining here. And you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to download my example. Let's get to this next example, which I really like. So this is kind of fun here. No, actually, let me get out of Python even for this one, just to show you how much fun this can be. Okay, one line here. Who's got the stick? I totally forgot about asking questions today. No one?
Oh, I have it.
Ah, you were going to take it home, weren't you?
I don't know where I put it though.
Oh well, just remember it. There aren't going to be too many questions here. So, well, you might know this one. If you know, you don't get to
I
guess.
have a guess, just because I know a little bit of C++ and I recognize one of the things.
Well, guess what the hell?
Python's gonna be outputting to like an HTTP.
Kind of. It's actually, but it's kind of reverse. You're actually going to start, and so there's nothing. Oh, but it says, look, serving HTTP on blah blah 000. That's you. Local thing. Port 8000. Well, what's this? It doesn't make any sense, does it? Well, let's go into our web browser here. We're going to go to localhost :8000. And
000.
what's this? I don't understand why it does that. I
Why
noticed
is it not 127,000?
001, I don't know. Good question is. So what is this? This is that directory I started in here. You're actually seeing my whole directory with that one line. The directory I'm in is suddenly served to the web. I can just actually look there. Remember we made nat.txt as part of it? There it is, now appearing in my web browser. I could go through my, whatever it is, I could go through my movies here and download all that jazz from this sort of thing. This is such you don't often need this trick. If you do need it, it's so useful. Often is, you have a computer, you want to copy something to somewhere else, there's a firewall. It won't let you do that. What do? You do what I just did, and you can even serve it on port, you do what I just did, and suddenly your whole directory of your computer is now serving on the web for free. Really, really handy. So, and this is kind of it's kind of a give, and you can see, look, it's actually telling you here, you can actually see where it's actually got, look, it got the original thing, there it's saying, oh, remember I tried to get something that didn't exist then, and then I got that, then I'm going to this movies directory. And so how did I do this? Well, it's built into the Python. This module here, there's a module called Simple HTTP Server, which if you wanted to write your own web server, which we probably won't be doing because we're probably using like GA or somebody else's server. But if you wanted to do it, you would just take that module and use it. And when you run Python with a -m, it actually loads and runs a module for you instantaneously. And it can be really, really handy. There's a bunch of modules that do something pretty clever when you run them. And Simple HTTP Server is one of them. It just serves whatever is sitting right there. So that's really a lot of fun. So now let me find, I was supposed to download, I knew I'd done something wrong. I was supposed to download I mailed to myself a CSV file. I hope there's nothing embarrassing in my email. Here, good. Yeah, it probably wasn't going to be, there's probably not that much embarrassing that I could get, but, swine. Why are you not letting me scroll? Okay, let me find, frustrating.
Just take the right-hand side of the web browser, drag it.
I don't think so. We change into a,
You just press down.
no, it's not doing that. Let me click on the one. Okay, that's helping. Okay, great. Thank you, good suggestion there. I mailed this to myself. Ah, here we go. If I hadn't been dealing with silly dogs, I would have dealt with this. Dogs are not silly. Okay, so let's just start off by saying, let's see if I can get it. Open.
Oh, there's.
What?
I'll look it up.
Let's see what the name of this was. Date, time, what a terrible name. All right, but I hope this will be more than fun, worth all the fun. Let's just say .read. Let's just take a look.
Could be downloads.
Oh, it's downloads. Thank you. Thank you. Voila. Good. Okay, let's do that. So, back to this. So let's do this again. Right. So. No idea. I hate computers sometimes. Let me close that.
It's probably web.
Well, that's fascinating. Oh, right. Oh, it seems to be back. Let's see. No? No, it is dead. Dead as a doornail. Let's try quit. Well, this is so embarrassing. Oh, there it is. Fascinating. Well, that got its attention. Great. All right. Yes, a bad workman blames his tools, but I'm going to blame my tools anyway. All right, so let's just see if I got this right now. Downloads. Okay, and we saw this before. So this is some huge, huge file. And what is it? Let's take a look at that file. It's a CSV file, comma-separated variables. You know these in your life as Excel files. Everybody deals with these all the time. You're endlessly being required to do crap with them, and generally you have to do them with Excel, or I use it to Google Documents these days. But you spend a huge amount of time dealing with these things. A lot of the times it would be so nice if you could deal with this Well, of course it turns out that Python does have a way to do this. Let me get to where I was with this. We can say, I'll pull this out. Oh, and I have to. So let's go back to this. And I'm going to now say import CSV. And CSV is this totally useful comma-separated variable thing. And it reads almost any type of form-oriented stuff. It'll read tab-separated variables. It'll read Excel files. It even has a way, if you don't know what's in the file, it has a way of looking at the file and guessing what sort of file it is for you, which is really, really handy. Let me tell you, this is saved my ass to be programming multiple times. So let's just see what I can do here. So we're going to do this, and then we're going to go back. Oop. It's too big. I've put too much stuff in this directory, so it gets. I did too many things where I just. Okay, here we go. I want to get the name of this file again. Voila. Okay, so we're going to say, let's do this at the beginning. It's called D equals this, and we have that. Okay, so let's take a quick look at what we're doing here. Okay. Oh, we need that, yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, I knew about this. Don't worry, I would have gone back, I swear. Okay, so let's take a look. Oh, damn. Okay, she's actually using that key. So there we go. What's happening here? So this, if you recall, that's us opening a file, right? That actually opens a file, and then we're passing it to something called the CSV dict reader. Well, what does it do? It's just ultra convenient. Because remember we saw this whole jumbled thing. What it does is it actually takes the header of your comma-separated variable file and says, okay, I'm going to use this as a template to make dictionaries. So if and then it's going to read each line and actually fill a nice dictionary. So if you look at this here, and you've lost that stick. Oh, you've got the stick. I'm going to take that stick now. So if you saw, we had that sloppy file. It read the first line of this file and converted it into a dictionary based on the header that's way off the top now. This is time zone, world's time zones. I actually had to use this for some project. I had to go through this thing. And when I initially did it, I did it in C++, and it was like, like days to just get to this spot where I'm now. Days, and I just did 1 second here. You can see it's actually made a nice dictionary. Daylight savings time, abbreviation, name, these are all the things.
That's a dictionary.
Yeah. So it's actually it read the whole thing and it got those names from the first line in the file, filled them in there, and then it fills in each separate line, puts it into a nice dictionary for you. You know, you can't buy such ease of use. So if you ever want to read, take away from this. This part didn't go as smoothly for your readers at home as usual, but the takeaway from this is if you ever want to do anything involving Excel files or any spreadsheet file or any tab or comma separated variable, which is so common in the real world, this will just do it all for you like a dream. Everything comes back as a simple dictionary. You can't ask for better. And gosh, I'm way ahead behind time here. I will show you two more though. Let's do this one here. Another thing you can do really handily is just get stuff from the internet. Any format, any protocol. I mean, oh, right. And this is done with urllib2. Now, I see you asking a question, what happened to urllib1? Right, well, it turned out, okay. So when they first did it, very early on, Python had urllib right from the beginning. But then when they got better at Python, they realized, oh, okay, we can do a more general job. urllib only is very specific. urllib2 is just much easier to use. And and it kind of includes all of urllib. So we all do urllib2. So here, and you can see this, you can see what I'm about to do here. So look, and notice how similar this is again to the open command. It's very similar to the open command we used to do files, except I'm now calling urllib.url open, and I'm opening this page here. The reason I picked this page is because it's a tiny page, that's why. So I'm opening it here, and then once I've opened that file, I'm reading it, and the value is going to be the contents of this file. which is kind of all messy and this sort of thing, but later things will figure out how to get this. So it actually went out in that second, actually went out, got that file, loaded it in, put it in a string and printed it out on my terminal. Can't be, yes.
So does it always read in HTML or would it show you like PHP or something like that?
Oh, so the thing is that you can't see, I mean, that could be any file in the world, could say .php or any file, it could be a binary file, you could be getting an image and it would put all this crap on your screen that you couldn't understand. You can't see a PHP file directly.
Oh, right.
What happens is those are instructions to the server on the other side to make up a web page for you. So you wouldn't see the PHP file, you'd see, what it is it's exactly like going to that page on the web. Exactly like it. And it's really, you know, it's really, and I could have done this could have been like FTP, it could have been a bunch of other things, it could be, it's very general purpose. It handles all sorts of protocols, it can handle protocols that you make up, if you're that sort of person. Who wants to do these sorts of things. So again is this sort of thing that trying to do this in C++ without a library would be 2 days work. Here it's like a second. So again is, the takeaway from this is there's an appropriate library, in this case, to get anything involving reading and writing stuff from the internet, from any web server, and it's URL lib in this case. Now you're looking confused.
Yep.
Okay, good. You're maybe absorbed then. Squinting. Okay, well, so we're running close. So I was going to put, at this point, I was going to do something with the regular expression library, RE. I'm not. Remember, if you need pattern matching regular expressions, I'm still debating whether to, I chatted to friends of mine who do programming. It was interesting, they were completely evenly split. There's only two of them. And one of them said, absolutely, you've got to do regular expressions. I'm like, no, you should not do regular expressions. So I haven't decided which to do, but we don't really have time anymore. But I'm going to show you two. The first one says, import this. Now actually you're like, well wait, this is kind of a joke. There is no this keyword in Python, that's from C++. So what's it do? It prints out the Zen of Python, a little kind of poem. And these are actually all, these are actually, there's a concept of Pythonic, and that is encapsulated by this little poem-like thing. And there'll be, I'm just pointing this out to you, as I'll give you a homework thing where you're going to study these. And it's pretty funny. Now is better than never, although never is often better than right now. You know, a lot of things. And then for the final one, there's import anti-gravity. Anybody want to guess what this does?
Do we all float up off of our seats?
No. Let's see what happens. Oh, does it only in Python 2.7? Rip off. Okay, Python. For those of you who have Python, do I know? Oh,
You don't
so,
even have it.
I don't even have it. What a shame. Well, I'll give that to you as a homework assignment. You will laugh. I won't tell you what it's going to do. It's pretty damn funny though. Yeah, this one was kind of a lot of dribs and drabs here, and perhaps less solid stuff to take home than before. I'm going to give you exercises, little exercises to get you used to a lot of things. But let me quickly go over again what we did. We started off with some simple ways to deal with strings. We have join and split. Not quite inverses of each other, but very similar. Then we learned how to read and write files. We spent a little bit, but still too much time going over the difference between binary files and non-binary files. And do remember, if you're never intending to use it on Windows, you don't even need to know about this. Then we did a quick tour of the various libraries. Again, it's not more supposed to be a flavor of these things. You know, you should know that if you want to do tab separated variables, comma separated variables, CSV. If you want to do something involving finding files in its OS, collections, simple HTTP. So they all have these names, and I think that's about it. So next time, I think we can actually start writing programs. So for the next time, please make sure you have some editor that lets you actually work on things. And next time, I'm actually going to be going back to the presentation format. I'll have programs I will show you. We will run them and this sort of thing. So make sure you have, before next time I'll be part of your assignment, I'll have assignment all these. Time for questions.
Can we go over the
Yes.
homework?
This is a very good idea. Yes, absolutely. Let me
I
find.
just had one that I had trouble with.
Let me find, let me bring that back
And
home.
I couldn't solve.
You're smart.
Well,
If, you know,
those are the ones that you couldn't solve.
I think, you know, nobody's kicking us out. Is somebody kicking us out? Joe? Nobody's kicking? Okay. I think that would be very good, you know, I have to be somewhere, people are looking at the homework right now. I have to be somewhere at 3, so I'm gonna quickly text my friend and tell him I'm gonna be a tiny bit late. I think my wife is there, so, what the hell. I'll text him as I leave. Let's start with your question, and we'll go.
5B,
5B,
changing the for loop to a while loop.
4B.
5.
Oh, a 5B. Oh, I do that too. While for loop as a while loop. Okay. That one is, and in fact, yes. In fact, C and D were intended to be slightly annoying.
Slightly?
Yeah. Yes. But let's do this one. Very good question. Actually, these ones. I knew these ones would be a little trickier, and so let's give it a try here. So let's actually do this and see. Start off. Let's see what it's doing. Now so far this shouldn't be a surprise to you, right? So if you recall the range statement, let's just quickly review the range statement. This is the start, this is the finish, this is the step. So you can see it goes here, it goes 5, then it steps by -2, 3, 1, -1, 3. So how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to actually have to have a variable that goes through all these values. Okay? So that's such a quick variable. I'm going to call it, with great originality, I'm going to call it I. So we start with I equals 5. Now we're going to have to do a loop.
Couldn't you do it all within the while loop though? By doing a while true?
That's true. I could do that, but let me just show you the solution. Let me just show you the solution I have, and you could also do it with a while true. You can certainly do it with a while true, but that would be good. Actually, so let's say while I is bigger than the terminals thing. So in other words, we start off with saying I equals 5. That's the start of the range. We say while I is greater than -5. We're going to do print I, right? And now we have to move I by the step. So you say I. We subtract 2 from I. I can even write this as minus equals 2. Right? So in other words, I start off with I is 5, then while I is, which is the beginning of the range, and then while I is strictly greater than -5, the end of the range, I print the value, and then I subtract 2 from I. So I is going to go, well, we'll see. I mean, you can guess what the result is going to be.
Okay.
The same
Yeah,
thing.
I was doing less than 5 and greater than -5. I don't know why it wasn't working.
That should almost have worked. If you had less than or equal to 5, it would have worked.
I did do that too. I don't know.
What to say? I mean, this seems trivial to me, but I've been doing this for.
I think it was because I
37
did
years.
set I to 7. At 5, I set it to 7 so that the first one would be -2 would be 5.
So here's a puzzle for you, which is relevant to your thing is, you have 10 fence posts. Each of them is 1 foot apart. How far is it from the first to the last fence post? Anybody want to guess?
Fence.
Well, you know this. No. Let's get somebody. Let's get somebody. It's called the fence post problem. So let's get somebody. Come on. Somebody who. I want somebody to get this wrong. Frankly, who thinks they're going to get it wrong?
You say it again.
10 fence posts, each a foot apart. How long is it from the first to the last fence post? It's 9.
It's not.
It's 9 because you see, between 2 fence posts is only 1 foot apart. Between 3 is only 2 foot apart. It's like what she's dealing with there is basically the fence post problem. She dealt with it by moving to a non-existent post and starting from there. That's not a terrible way to do it, but for whatever reason it didn't work, but it might have worked. Generally, it's usually best to handle it at the end, though, rather than the beginning. That's why I have the greater than. The greater than fixes that. And what to say is, it's one of those mistakes you're going to make You have to make it at least once or twice before you can understand it and learn how to fix it. And it's so, there's numerous jokes about it in computer science. You know, there's like, they say the two biggest problems in computer programming are, was it caching, distributed systems, and off-by-one errors. Right. Do you have a question?
If we were to
Ray?
get to print to -5, you'd also have to, it'd have to be greater than or equal.
That is correct. That is correct. But when you're doing ranges, it's always going to be a greater than or a less than. Because remember the range, remember these are called half-open ranges. All of your ranges, your slices, your ranges, everything in Python is done with this half-open thing. Mainly so that you can glue things together properly, as we saw in our last episode. So that means we always start at this first element, but we never reach the end. So this one is always hit, the beginning of the range, the end of the range is never hit. You always go up to, but not including the range. Remember, it's a half-open thing. More assignment questions? Well, any questions in general? Yeah.
I actually gotta run.
Oh, great. Thanks for everything. And as I said, next time we'll actually have programs to write. So,
I have one.
oh,
Square. We
I did not. I didn't bring my square today because of my